Welcome back to Man Down Sports. As you can see from the thumbnail, I want to talk about the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon, Russell Westbrook, and the Warriors game that happened last night. I watched the entire game. Fascinating game from start to finish. They let them play physical. All of the above. I thought it was all good television, to be honest with you. It was just an overall good game. But what's surprising to me is that the Denver Nuggets actually pulled this win out. I don't think nobody would have picked them knowing going into the game there was going to be no Nikola Jokic playing and no Jamal Murray. That's your top two guys, right? So you pull them out of the lineup, and I know a lot of people think, oh, that might have been a trap game for the Warriors. You know, they came in just thinking they was going to run over them and they couldn't. You could say that. You could say it was a trap game, but at the end of the day, I want to point some stuff out to y'all. And some stuff that I've been saying this whole time because the narrative is that these guys that playing with Jokic are subpar. They can't make all stars. They're not all star caliber players. They're not legit role players and legit co-stars. They don't show up. They got the worst plus minus with Jokic on or the worst on off numbers with Jokic on the floor, off the floor, which might be true, but there's a reason for it. I don't think that you can take that number of the Denver Nuggets play, kind of based on the numbers they play poorly with Jokic not on the floor versus when he's on the floor, right? Of course, you take any great player off the floor, there's going to be some drop off, right? But why is the drop off so crazy and so steep with the Denver Nuggets and his role players and his co-stars? And some people would take that and equate that to that the role players aren't legit. The co-stars aren't legit. So that means Westbrook's not legit. Or he's past his prime. That means Jamal Murray as a co-star is not legit. That means Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon as role players aren't legit. Christian Braun as a role player is not legit. All these guys aren't legit for what their role is. They're I guess um, subpar when compared to other teams that are contenders, right? So, for instance, OKC Thunder, they're going to say all the opposite things. They're going to say this team is just like historically good based on the numbers they are, especially on the defensive end. But they're going to use that and equate that to how great those players is around SGA. So they're going to say that Williams is an all-star, and which he is. He made his first all-star this year, but they're going to say that it makes him great, even though he's averaging 21 points, and so is Jamal Murray averaging 21 points, right? The difference between why Williams made all-star and Jamal Murray didn't is because when you make multiple players from one team all-stars, to justify that team needs to be a top team. So when you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers getting three players into the All Star game. They got Mitchell, they got Mobley, and they got Garland. They got three players into the All Star game. They're the number one seed. That makes sense. When Boston was the number one seed, they got Jaylen Brown and Tatum into the All Star game. That's what happens when you secure the number one seed, right? OKC, number one seed on the West. They got Williams and SGA. If Denver would have been number one, it probably would have been Jokic and Murray instead of SGA and Williams, right? That's what happens. When Phoenix was a top, at least near the top, that had Booker and KD, right? So your team have to perform very well for you to get multiple nods at an All Star, unless you just one of those legacy players like Curry, LeBron James, or Kevin Durant. Those three guys, it don't make sense for them not to be all stars. So they automatically get a nod. And then if your team is performing well enough, your co-star will as well, whether it be Wiggins, AD, or Booker. Right. So my whole point is this: Jamal Murray is on the same level with those guys. He's on the same level with Jalen Williams. He's on the same level with Andrew Wiggins. He's not on the same level with Anthony Davis. I don't believe that. But Brown might be slightly above him. I mean, his defense just is phenomenal. So I would put Brown above him. Brown and AD definitely. But when it comes to Wiggins or Jalen Williams, Jamal Murray is on their level. He's an all-star caliber guard. He just haven't made it yet. And that doesn't mean that Jokic don't have help just because he hasn't made all-star. He has adequate help. This dude averaged 32 points in the finals. He hits most of the game winners. He just hit a game winner or clutch basket against the Lakers, right? So let's get into some of these things. But before we even get started, man, this episode is brought to you by Underdog. Underdog Fantasy is the best place to play fantasy sports. I want to tell you about the easiest way to get in on some NBA action with Underdog Fantasy and their pick'em game. Just find your favorite player or any player for that matter, pick higher or lower on that player's stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in one night. Pick between 2 or 5 players to fill your pick'em entry. Get every pick right, and you can net yourself some serious cash. Use the promo code Man Down Sports and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Plus, now that it's football season, you can follow Man Down Sports as we reveal our favorite picks from week to week. Like I said before, pick your favorite player, pick higher or lower, choose your dollar amount, and win some money. It's just that easy. Make picks, win money. We also want to thank Underdog Fantasy for partnering with us, and we want to thank you for helping the channel out by using Man Down Sports on Underdog Fantasy. All right, so what do we start? A good victory for the not the Golden State Warriors, but the Denver Nuggets versus the Golden State Warriors in their arena, right? So Aaron Gordon played huge, 38 points. He played phenomenal, right? This is where I want to start with this, right? I think it's very lazy and disrespectful to the players that has won a championship with Nikola Jokic to just write them off as being something inadequate or something that's just subpar and every loss get blanked on you, right? I think it's lazy and a false narrative. It's even in mainstream media where people actually think that these players actually not it happens, but they actually need for Nikola Jokic to spoon feed them all of their points. Like people really believe that Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Jamal Murray actually need Nikola Jokic to just set everything up for them to score. Right now, the fact that he is kind of doing that might be confusing, but I to say someone is doing something like I got let's say I got a young 6-year-old. He or she knows how to tie their shoe, but I keep doing it. Right? You see me tying their shoe, you might mistake that as that they don't know how to tie their shoe because you keep seeing me doing it. Right? But maybe I can't take that and use that to say, hey, I'm the father of the year. Look what I'm doing. I'm tying my 6-year-old shoe for him every single day. He ain't even got to do it for. He ain't even got to tie his shoe for. Like really, I would respect a dad that actually taught their kid how to tie their shoe so they can do it themselves than someone that does it for them and try to make themselves look good. And I'm not saying Jokic is spoon feeding or running the offense and getting all these assist numbers to make himself look good and to make it seem like, well, I am saying that's what the offense is designed for. The offense is designed for Jokic to look very good and for his teammates to make him look even better than what you know what I'm saying? That's what it is. I'm getting all the assists, and the only reason why you're scoring is because of me. And it worked. People actually believe that, but I think it's a false narrative, right? And I think the numbers that people try to use with his own off the court numbers can be explained by the fact that if you design an offense, whether it's football, basketball, let's take football for example. If you have a running quarterback and you design a read option offense, and that quarterback misses a couple of games, and then you bring in the backup who's not a run first quarterback, who's not good at running the read option, and you bring him in, but that's the only offense y'all have. So he has to run the read option. I can't judge him based on that offense. I mean, it's just not suited for them. So it's not two offensive playbooks for the Denver Nuggets, right? So whatever offense they run, whatever their philosophy is, it centers around Jokic, and Jokic actually makes all of it go. So he's the single point of failure. The offense is designed to fail without him. Does that make sense? If I design an offense that only works with Jokic, the offense is Jokic. He's the hub for the offense. It's not supposed to work without him. So it's supposed to be a huge drop off when Jokic is not there. It's supposed to be, unless you're running something totally different, right? And these players barely even practice. So whatever they put in during training camp or whatever they've been doing for the last 5 years, that's it. That's the offense. That's Mike Malone's offense. All right. So if you design an offense that can only operate well with one guy being involved and being the hub for it, then yes, when he's not available, you'll see drop-offs. But if you design an offense like the triangle offense, that offense would work without its best player. It'll work without Michael Jordan. Right? It worked when he retired. They won a lot of games when Michael Jordan retired. They still run the offense the same way. All right. So the way Greg Popovich won his offense, it can still operate if Duncan missed the game. Right. So I wouldn't never design an offense that it has to work through one guy. That's what Luka does. That's what LeBron has been doing most of his career, but not all the time. That's what Harden did at Houston. That's what Westbrook did in OKC. I mean, it is what it is. It's only a handful of guys that play like that, or a handful of coaches that allow it, right? So the false narrative that they actually need Jokic for everything is not true. It's just by design, it looks that way, right? So let's look at some numbers from the Denver Nuggets, and then we go look at some numbers from this game. On the season, they're third in points per game. Whoop-de-doo, that's great. Jokic is a huge scorer, and that's helping his team to be a great scoring team. They're third, 121 points a game, right? They're fifth in rebounds, 45. They're first in assists. So his assists are translating to team success. And, that's one of my criteria for MVP. We'll get on that later. So his assists, you can say translate to team success. You're number one in the league in assists with 31 a game, right? But that thing all the way to the right, your opponent's points per game, you're 25th in. That's not a playoff team. There's only 30 teams in the league. You're 25th. You're fifth from the bottom, right? Giving up 117 points a game, right? So all these things have Jokic hand fingerprints all over it, right? The points per game, you can attribute that to Jokic and his leadership and his ability as a scorer. His rebounding, same thing. His assist, same thing. But that defense, you also can attribute to Jokic. He is the worst defender in that starting lineup, probably the worst defender on the team. A liability on defense. And like I always say, what is the worst ability in basketball? A liability on defense is the worst ability. People say the best ability is availability, but the worst ability is a liability on defense. And that's what Jokic is, right? He's a liability, and that translates to them being 25th overall. They're not blocking shots at the rim. Jokic is always getting attacked on defense, putting him in screening roles. They forcing him to move his puppies, and he's not. I mean, it's blow by after blow by. It's rim runs after rim runs, and he's not able to deter it. It is what it is, right? But I want to get this to y'all. The narrative is Denver Nuggets absolutely need Jokic, and these guys are bums that he's playing with. He's playing with a bunch of scrubs. They never made an all-star. And like I always say, man, the reason why it looks that way is because it's designed for only one guy to look good in that offense. It's designed for that, right? The fact that these guys are able to still get their numbers is a miracle to me, right? So without Jokic against a playoff team, a team that's on a 14-1 streak over the last 15 games, a team that probably the hottest team in the league in the Golden State Warriors. You go into their building without Jokic and Murray, and they had the audacity to go there and win. But are they able to get these numbers that Jokic was getting for them without Jokic and Murray? And I'm sorry, I forgot about Christian Bryant. He's missing as well. So 3 starters out of the lineup, right? Luckily for Denver, they're able to put a future Hall of Fame Westbrook, a former MVP, someone who can run the offense straight into the starting lineup. So that's one. Okay, now you replace that, but you down 3 starters. You replace them with Westbrook, with one of them, and then two other defenders. And then I got Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. How is this going to work? Are they able to duplicate these numbers? Right. Remember this: 45 rebounds. We'll say 46. Round up. 31 assists. 121 points. And can they do better than 117 points for their opponents? Let's see. Right. So here's the game. And as you can see, everything that Jokic is praised for, that no one think can be done for this Denver Nuggets team without Jokic doing it the way he does it. Everything he's praised for got duplicated in this game. Right. The points was provided. Right. Aaron Gordon got you the points. He got you 38 points. So the points that Jokic would normally get you, Aaron Gordon got you there and some. 38. Right. The triple-double even got achieved by Westbrook. The triple-double got achieved. Right. As a team, if you look to the right, remember I said 46 rebounds and 32 assists? Look to the right, those circles. They got more than the 45 rebounds. They got 52 rebounds. So they out-rebounded the Warriors. The Warriors not, they play small a lot, so that's not to be anything excited about it. But, I mean, I'm just looking at the pure numbers. They was able to get it, the 52 rebounds. They got more rebounds than what they was getting when Jokic was just line up. And they got more assists. They got 32 assists. So you mean to tell me that Jokic claim to fame is he's this assist guru, and we just think that, oh, this can't be duplicated by nobody on Denver. It has to be Jokic, which I knew wasn't true because I know Jamal Murray, even though he don't even run the offense, he's asked to score the ball. They want Jokic to run the offense, but Jamal Murray is still getting you 6 to 7 assists a game because he's a real point guard that can run the offense if they let him. But they want Jokic to run it. But he's still getting you 7 assists. And then you got Westbrook coming off the bench, still getting you about 7 assists. And we know he's capable of getting you way more than that because he's an assist guru as well. He's an offensive hub as well. So Jokic don't have to be the one to run it offense. They want him to run it. Right? Now, you could say, oh, man, I feel more comfortable with Jokic running it. Okay, you can say that. But if the end goal is to win games, and the end goal is to have team assists, not individual assists. The end goal is, can we get 30 plus assists as a team? That means we're moving the ball pretty well. As long as you can achieve that, I don't care if you run the Princeton offense. I don't care if you run a triangle offense. I don't care if you run a motion offense. I don't care what you do, but if you're getting 30 plus assists, you're doing pretty good as a team. That's the only assist number I'm worried about. I'm not handpicking which player I want to get the assist. I just want the ball to be moving. Right? So it don't have to be Jokic. They're choosing for it to be Jokic, right? Why? That's a good question, right? Because you got 2 other real point guards that's very capable of doing this. And they just showed you that tonight against a good playoff team in the Warriors. They got 32 assists. That's above the average. The average was 31. They got 52 rebounds. That's above the average. I think that's interesting. Michael Porter Jr. got you 21 points like he usually does, right? He got you 21 points. That's normal for him. Between 18 and 21, that's normal. So he did what he usually do, Westbrook got you a triple double. He got you 16 assists. So he distributed the ball, and Aaron Gordon got you the points. Right. So you could spread that wealth. You could spread it out and have a well balanced attack on offense. It don't have to be Jokic doing all of it. They're just choosing for Jokic to do all of it. It still got achieved. That's the only thing that matter, right? That's not it though. So if I can show you that they got 52 rebounds, 32 assists, a triple double, 16 assists by Westbrook, 38 points by Aaron Gordon, and if you look at it, they only had 4 guys in double figures, right? They only had 2 20-point scorers or 20-plus point scorers. Aaron Gordon with 38 and Michael Porter with 21. Russell Westbrook concentrated on distributing the ball. He only had 12 points, so he didn't concentrate a lot on scoring. So he really played the point guard position like a real point guard. He played defense, he rebounded, he distributed the ball, and he scored where he saw his points that he can pick. Right, he scored that way on opportunity type scoring like a Chris Paul or Rondo. Very good. I like that. I like that my distributor and the guy that's primarily distributing the basketball is different from the guy that's primarily scoring the basketball. I like for that to be 2 separate people. I don't like it to be one person, right? Because it makes everything harder for the team, and you have to overcome a lot. You got to overcompensate in other areas because you got this one guy doing this 2 roles primarily, and everybody else kind of get thrown into a restricted area where they got to play in a phone booth, right? They don't have a lot of freedom. There's one guy setting everybody up, and then you need to spread the floor for him and all this crazy stuff, right? And then when every time you have a guy that does too much on offense, that always gives them a perfect excuse to lollygag on defense. For one, oh man, I can't pick up no fouls on defense because if I go to the bench, our offense is dead because I'm doing everything. Plus, hey, I need to rest a little bit on defense because I'm doing so much on offense. Notice the guys who do the triple double type basketball: Luka, Harden, Westbrook when he was in OKC, LeBron, and Jokic. Notice those guys that flirt with the triple double. All of them played subpar defense when they played triple double basketball because they really think that because they're doing so much offense, they should be able to slack on defense or rest on defense, right? So then what ends up happening is you hear coaches like Jason Kidd saying we got to protect Luka more, and we got to help him out on defense. And you hear people saying, oh man, you got to get all these great defenders around Jokic because we know that's his weak spot, and you get great defenders around him and then it works. And now you got people playing defense for Jokic. That's never supposed to happen, right? So they was achieving everything they needed to achieve. What does it look like when Jokic is on the floor though? Right. So this is the game before last night when they played Golden State. This is the game when they played the Wizards, and the Wizards beat them. Right. If you look at the score, the Wizards look up the top at that circle. The Wizards scored 126. The average that they give up is 116. I'm sorry, 121. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. 116.9. So 117 is what they average giving up. They went in and gave up daggone 126 against the Wizards. Way more than their average. And if you look at the scoring distribution for the Nuggets on the left, bottom left, you see Michael Porter got his usual 20. Jokic got 40. Jamal Murray got you 24. Keep in mind, when Michael Jordan was playing, he usually did his 30, 35, and would get like 18 from Pippen on average. These dudes is getting, like Michael Porter Jr. is doing the type of scoring that Pippen did, but then he also got a 24-point score in Jamal Murray and a 22-point score in Westbrook. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4 guys score more than 20 points. 4 guys. You got imagine if Michael Jordan had 3 other guys that was giving him 20. Imagine that. He was only getting 20 from Scotty. Rodman wasn't giving him nothing. Rodman would give you 5. Tony Kukoc will probably get you on a good night 15 maybe. Ron Harper 8, 9. Luke Longley get you 12. Imagine him with 3 other 20-point scorers. You know why Jokic need that many points from his role players and co-stars? Because they're going to give up so much points on defense, and that's his fault. He's the one that can't defend. If you look to the right, the man that Jokic had to defend, the 19-year-old rookie, Alex Sarr, gave him 34 points. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in double figures, 19 points, 16 points, 34 points, 19 points, 10 points. It was disgusting. Giving up 126 points. Jokic getting threes dropped on his head, people getting dunks on him. He ain't fouling nobody. He ain't blocking no shots. He ain't putting nobody in front of him. Like, it's Olay defense. So if your last line of defense is your 7-footer who can't jump over a phone booth, who can't block a shot, who can't move his puppies in the screening roll, who getting blown by, who actually give up on plays sometimes on defense. Like, if you get the ball down low, he'll rather you get the 2 points instead of giving up a foul or trying to block it or something. He giving you the points. And the only thing, his best defense is, I'm going to let you score, but I'm gonna tap the ball to my teammate so he can inbounds it very quick, and I can run up court and try to get the 2 points back. Like, that's his best defense is, I'm gonna get these 2 points back real fast. I'm gonna give you the 2 points, but I'm about to go back and get 2 points too. That's his best defense. There's a lot of people that think like that. Harden, Luka, Jokic, the name of a few. If you watch them play, when they give up points, watch how quick they try to get the inbound so they can go back and try to get the points back. That's how their mindset is. If you score, I'm gonna score. That's my defense. I'm scoring every time you score. That's my defense. They're not thinking stop them, right? So with that type of mentality for your last line of defense as your 7-foot center, that's why they give up so many points, and that's why Jokic needs so much help from his role players and his co-stars. He shouldn't need that many 20-point scores. If you're defending, you don't need that. And that was the difference tonight. When they played Golden State didn't have a guy that they can pick on every play down the floor. Everybody was locked in on defense. No one had to protect Jokic and say, we all got to play defense for Jokic. And, no, they switched all the screens. Golden State got a lot of split actions they like to do out of the high post when they players get the ball in the high post, and they come with dribble handoffs or split actions and stuff like that. They switched all of those. They switched all the screens, and it neutralized a lot of things. They couldn't switch everything if Jokic was on the floor. They switched everything. They switched everything. The defense, I mean, it looked real good. They turned them boys over 20 times. And Draymond Green spoke about some of those turnovers. This is what he said. And listen to also what he said about the teammates that Jokic have in Denver.
You're always protecting against human nature when you hear Jokic and Murray out, but do you think that was at least the start of this, a little bit of a mental letdown?
Definitely, but they still have an MVP, still have high caliber players. We just got to be better in that situation. I think they did a lot of things to screw us up, and then once the team get in the rhythm, they got some really good NBA players over there. So once the team get in the rhythm, it's hard to break it, and they got into a rhythm fast.
You guys had 20 turnovers. That's been one of really kind of the strengths of this run, is limiting that. I mean, do you feel like that was the biggest factor?
Yeah, for sure. And we knew that coming in. Like, you turn the ball over, they're going to get out in transition and run. Get easy buckets, and that allows them to get into a rhythm, and we didn't do a good job of it. Started with me and just trickled down to everybody else.
What were some of the things that they did that screwed you guys up?
They played with a lot of force. They were extremely active, and then they, offensively, they had a lot of movement and we weren't communicating well. We gave up slips to the rim. You know, a bunch of guys got open layups. And like I said, once you start getting those layups, it's hard to break that rhythm.
This game was won on defense, right? Steph Curry didn't have a huge game. He had a poor shooting night, put up a lot of threes, didn't make a whole bunch of them. They turned them over 20 times, like I said. They got on the run. Westbrook distributed the ball very well. There was no liabilities on defense. They switched everything. It was just a good game to watch. And a lot of these things couldn't have been done with Jokic on the floor. They wouldn't have had that type of defensive night with Jokic on the floor. They would have picked on Jokic every play up the court, right? And I'm not saying this team is better without Jokic. What I'm saying is this team is not a team full of scrubs that Jokic is carrying. It's a well-coached team. It's a well-put-together team. It's not the best put-together team. I think the best put-together team was the one that won the championship when they had Bruce Brown coming off the bench and Jeff Green coming off the bench and Caldwell Pope in the starting lineup. That was a real constructed team. Caldwell Pope was a good shooter that defended. Bruce Brown was a good slasher, a high IQ basketball player, and a great defender. And he shot the ball pretty good. Jeff Green was a veteran that was needed on the bench and in the locker room that also got in the game, shot the ball good, rebounded, defended. He did everything good. Now he's over there doing that same thing for the Rockets, but he's a little older, so he's getting less time than he was getting in Denver. But those three guys was key. Losing those guys was very key. And I'm missing one guy that was on that off that bench, but it'll come back to me later. But this roster is good as well, right? Christian Braun is not the shooter that Caldwell Pope is, but he gives you a little bit more as a slasher, as a rim runner, as a defender. So you can kind of leave him open a little bit, but they still got the goods. When you watch them play, you saw Watson as a defender. He got some steals and some blocks that was just amazing to me. But his shooting is not there, so you can kind of leave him open sometime. And he was missing his free throws, and but he's a great player. You don't have to have the best shooters all the time. Sometimes you got to make it work. You got to make it work sometime, right? So the answer is not blaming his teammates for everything, right? If they're not winning, you put that on the leader. You didn't adjust. Why the role players and the co-stars have to do all the adjustments, and we just keep doing the same thing that we've been doing with the star. When Michael Jordan got into the season and Pippen decided to get that foot surgery and he missed half the season, and his second best player was pretty much Dennis Rodman, and he had to have a come to Jesus moment with Dennis Rodman and say, "Look, bro, you got to stop the partying. I need you to lock in, man, because we losing games early on. We ain't getting no chip if we don't, if you know what I'm saying, if we don't daggone lock in right now." And Dennis Rodman locked in, and then the Bulls turned the season around, started winning some games, and then Scottie Pippen came back for the playoffs, and the rest is history. They got another championship. But that's an adjustment, right? Michael Jordan had to do a little bit, do things a little bit different. He knew he had to score a little bit more. He knew he had to be real adamant about how he led. He knew he had to go to Rodman and wheel him back in. Like he had to make an adjustment to do things. You just can't say, "Well, I'm so good, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing." And if it's not working, y'all need to talk to them role players. Talk to the dudes that get paid the small bucks. Don't talk to the big. They got to get the big bucks. Don't talk to the guy that keep getting all the MVPs. Don't talk to me. I'm perfect. Go talk to my role players. Nah, that's not how a leader's supposed to do. It's on me. If something's not working, it's on me. I figure it out. Or if I don't figure it out, then you can blame me. Don't blame them though. But it's always a red flag when teammates get blamed when they're the role players and they're the co-stars. But then you got this guy that we're saying is an all-time great escape all accountability. That's the LeBron James. That's the Nikola Jokic. That's the Luka Doncic. That's those three guys. Blame your teammates, man. The last thing I say before I move on, I heard someone say that the reason why Jokic is the MVP this year is because SGA, and it's funny, man, because you make a case for one guy to be the MVP, and when you when you explain why he's the MVP, you start talking about the other candidate and try to and diminish him instead of telling me why this guy's the MVP. You know, hey, why is Jokic the MVP? Oh, Jokic is the MVP because SGA got so much help. That's also a red flag when you hear that. I've heard that a bunch of MVPs in the past. When Steve Nash got 2 in a row, you would ask yourself, man, dang, Detroit had the best record in the East. They might have had the best record in the league. Chauncey Billups was a second team all defensive guy. He was the leader of the Detroit Pistons with the best record in a top rated defense and top rated offense. Why isn't he more of a candidate? I understand people say that Kobe Bryant should have won it because he was averaging like 35 that season, but I don't believe in rewarding a guy that led his team to a 6 seed with the MVP. Like it's got to be better candidates than a guy who led a 6 seed. So I never believed that Kobe Bryant lost the MVP unjustly to Steve Nash, but I do think that Chauncey Billups did. I do think Chauncey Billups was a better candidate than Steve Nash. But what did they say there about Chauncey Billups that disqualified him? They said that your team is too good. You got too much help. You can't be the MVP. Meanwhile, Stoudemire over there with, Steve Nash over there with Amari Stoudemire, Boris Diaw, Leandro Barbosa. Leandro Barbosa was daggone near the 6th man of the year. Stoudemire also got MVP votes. Q Richardson led the league in 3-point shooting that year. Boris Diaw, very versatile player, had him coming off the bench. Joe Johnson, who left Phoenix and went and led the Atlanta Hawks to the #1 record in the league with just Kyle Korver and Al Horford. So we know what Joe Johnson is. We know what ISO Joe is. This man had ISO Joe, Barbosa, Stoudemire, Boris Diaw, and Q Richardson on his roster, and Sean Marion. Don't forget about Sean Marion, who also got MVP votes that year. So you got 2 players on your team that also got MVP votes. And then you had Joe Johnson, Leandro Barbosa, Boris Diaw, and Q Richardson. That was your squad. And they said that Chauncey Billups had too much help with the Wallace boys, Rip and Tayshaun. What's the difference in those squads? Right. So the year that they had the #1 offense in the league and the #1 record in the league, Steve Nash should have got the MVP. But the year that Detroit had the #1 defense in the league and the best record in the league, Chauncey should have got that one. So I think Nash should have got one. Chauncey should have got one. Right. But they disqualified him. And I hate when they do that. They start disqualifying guys. And that's what they're trying to do with SGA. They're saying you're disqualified because your roster is too good, which is funny because they said his roster is too good because they won a game without him, which means that his team is just a stack. And they compared it to historic teams. This is a historically stacked team. Historically stacked team in OKC. So he shouldn't get the MVP, but Denver should. And it's funny because poetic justice, Denver just won a huge game without Jokic and Murray. Thought that was funny. So since we're on the topic of MVPs, let's go ahead and see what Magic Johnson said about the MVP race. He wasn't really talking about the MVP race on this. He really was asked. First of all, Magic Johnson was on Byron Scott's podcast, and he just asked him what he thought about the Lakers, and after the Luka trade and all of that stuff. Man, he started talking about how it's great and the offense would be great, but he said when the playoffs start, that's what you really got to keep your eye on, because we seen Luka get picked on in the finals against Boston. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum took turns picking on him, and they just did it again last week when they played Boston. And he was like, "That's what's going to happen in the playoffs, man. They're going to pick on Reeves, they're going to pick on Luka, and we just got to see how that goes, right?" So he was talking about defense and the Lakers and Luka. Then while he was talking about that, he just happened to mention Denver and Jokic and SGA, and then he just went on the sidebar about the MVP. So let's hear what he said.
So what's going to happen in the playoffs on the defensive end? And so we have to see, because Denver, you know, OKC is the number one team, and young fella.
Oh, he balling SGA.
Yeah. Oh, he's the MVP.
Yeah,
He playing, but he got some other guys to go with him too. And so you look at Denver, you look at Oklahoma City, you know, these teams, the Clippers, Houston is young. I don't think they'll be. Here come Golden State because of
Jimmy
Butler and his toughness and he's a defender and he can score and he plays better in the playoffs.
Yeah,
right.
Jimmy Buckets.
So you got to be. I think Golden State gonna make a great run because they can do both, defend and score.
The Joker. I mean, we've seen a lot of great players.
Yeah.
And we had a discussion earlier about, you know, where do you put him? But I made the argument you can't put him anywhere near the greats right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at what he's done at that position, he's kind of changed that position from a center, because he's a guy that can shoot threes. He can post you.
That's right.
He can go to the elbow and you can run your offense through this guy. He's a unique player at that position. What do you think about him?
Yeah, he's best player in basketball right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he reads situations and defense as well. His basketball IQ is off the chart.
Yeah.
And then he beats you because he's off rhythm. And B said the right thing. He's not one of the best yet, but he is up there. You know, and the only thing he can't do like Kareem could do is dominate on both ends.
Right.
That's what's missing for him.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he's not a big shot blocker.
Right. Defensively, he's a little bit of a liability.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, yeah.
He's the best player in the league. Giannis, you know, it's just amazing. We do have some great young talent that's in the league, but Shea is the MVP, and he got the best record in the league. When you have the best record and you balling like Shea's been balling, you got to give him the MVP this season.
Very interesting stuff, man. There's a lot of things he said. Let's just get the one thing out the way. He said SGA is the MVP. He said that twice. He said Jokic was the best player in basketball, right? A lot of people think the MVP is the best player in basketball at the same time, right? You know, I don't think the MVP and the best player in basketball is synonymous. I don't think, you know, I think a lot of people think if someone other than Jokic get the MVP, that you're also saying that they're a better basketball player than Jokic, and that's not the case. MVP is something totally different. MVP is just based on that season. MVP does not have any implications on who the best player in basketball is. It's just based on that season. Now, I do think SGA is a better basketball player than Jokic, yo. So that's just a whole topic for another day. I think SGA is the best player in the league, in the face of the league right now. But you know, that's my opinion. You know, I like people that play on both ends of the floor at an elite level, or a good level, or a great level. But you know, being great on one end and then a liability on the other end, that doesn't fit well for me. For the best player in basketball, right? You know, you can say the best offensive player, but the best player, you got to include defense, right? And we're going to get to some of that defense as well, because I mean, being a liability is not lit like that. That's not what we supposed to be promoting, liabilities on defense, right? So and Magic kept mentioning defense. He kept mentioning defense, and he just kept mentioned it 3-4 times. Defense. You know, or he said Golden State is going to be good because they can do both. They can defend and score. He just kept saying defense, right? So that goes to show you, like, it's a defense is a real thing. Like, when you watch basketball, like I don't understand. I guess some people close their eyes when defense has been played. I don't know. It's weird. Like, do you not see the defense? You only see the team with the ball. Like, I don't understand how y'all watch basketball and be like, yeah, defense ain't that important. Let's just talk about this offense. Like, every award, the only reason why we play the game is to win. So everything must be geared toward winning. Number one. Number two, defending has to be up there. There's three priorities in basketball. The ultimate goal is to win. So that's the number one priority. But it's two ways that you can secure that win, right? Two things you must do. One, you must score more points than the opposing team. 100% of the time. Now you can go back and check the record books. Maybe there was a game that I missed, but last time I checked, the team with the most points won every NBA game. Y'all let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if there's a game where a team with the least amount of points actually won it. I haven't seen it yet, but from my memory, the team with the most amount of points at the final buzzer is the team that won 100% of the time. So scoring is it's high priority. That's why all the MVP candidates are great scorers. That's why the highest paid players are great scorers. Scoring is that's what you have to do to win, right? And what helps to score more points than the other team is if you can stop them as well. Because if you got a great scorer that can score, but they're also giving up the same amount of points that they're scoring, you're at a net. You just broke even, right? So you got to score and defend, and all of that goes towards winning, because that's the only reason why we play. So those three things are the number one priority, all together. It's like the Holy Trinity, all in one: winning, scoring, defending. Nothing else matters. You can win a game with the least amount of rebounds. You can win a game with the most amount of rebounds. So rebounds is not as important as scoring or defending. Assist is not as important as scoring or defending. There's nothing more important than scoring and defending. There's nothing. Scoring or offense is 50% of the game, and the other 50% is defense. There's no way around it. You can't exclude defense in any of these conversations where you're talking about who the best player is, who the greatest player is, who the MVP is, who's first team all NBA, who's an all-star. You cannot exclude defending, winning, and scoring. You can't get around those things, right? All right, so I beat a dead horse a little bit. All right, so let's get into this MVP really quick. Y'all seen that graphic a number of times. Offensive value, defensive value, and team success. How do we measure team success? Well, your team record is one easy way to measure team success, but your team seeding, what like right now, OKC is ranked number 1 in the West. That's very important. And your offense and defensive rating. Why is that important? Because, say for example, I say SGA leads the league in scoring, right? And okay, that's good. He's scoring a lot of points. Now, how's that helping his team? Well, him leading his team and the league in scoring has resulted in his team being the number 1 scoring offense in the league. Okay, that's significant. Now, how did that translate into winning? Him leading the league in scoring has resulted in his team being the number 1 scoring offense, which has resulted in his team having the number 1 record in the West. Okay, that's significant to me, because now that shows me that your scoring is directly proportional and connected to your team's success in the way of the win column and in the way of where your team is rated at in offense and then scoring. So that's good. Now, on the opposite end, if SGA was leading the league in scoring, and I'll be like, okay, so how is that translating to his team success? And your team is like 20th in scoring, then I'm gonna be like, that's in vain. What about the win column? All right, they're in the 5th seed in the West. No, that now your 30 points a game doesn't look as good as the 30 points a game that resulted in the number 1 rated offense or the number 1 scoring offense and the number 1 team record wise in the West, right? If that makes sense, right? Now, does this work in a negative way? Yes, it does work in a negative way. Say, for instance, Nikola Jokic, we know he's a liability on defense. Say it with me. The best ability in basketball is availability, but the worst ability in basketball is a liability. And Jokic is a liability on defense. How is that translating to his team success in a negative way? Well, his horrible defense has led his team to be 25th rated defense. That's below the bottom, right? I can show you that again. They're 25th, and the op points per game all the way to the right. They giving up 117 points a game. That's 25th. So his horrible defense is directly proportional to a very negative stat of giving up 117 points a game, right? And that's why his team ain't number 1 in the West, right? So that's how I look at MVP. I need to see that offense and defensive value, and I need to see both of those things lead to team success. And whoever reach those heights at a higher level will get heavier consideration for MVP in my book, right? Now some people would say, "Oh man," but they're number 3 in the West right now. They're tied for number 2 in the West with Houston. So they right behind OKC. But no, I'm not gonna say they right behind OKC. I got Thunder, the Nuggets, and the Phoenix Suns highlighted for a reason, right? If you look at their record, squared or circled in the red, you will see that there's a 12 there's a 12 game difference between the Thunder and the Nuggets in the standings. The Thunder have 12 more wins than the Nuggets do. Even though the Nuggets are only 2 seeds behind them, I want to show you that 12 wins is the same distance between the Nuggets and the Suns. The Suns are down there at the 11th seed. They're 12 wins away from the Nuggets, just like the Nuggets is 12 wins away from the Thunder. Let that sink in, right? Let that sink in. So now you're starting to see how this MVP thing shape out. I also want to show you how it's funny that the MVP, the goalpost moves so much. It moves every year. And it's pretty much, how can we figure out a way to award someone the MVP that's playing triple-double basketball? Like we're falling in love with the triple-double, right? I want to start by showing y'all 2021, 2022 MVP race that Nikola Jokic won. This is the year that the Denver Nuggets was in the 6th seed, right? Let me show you. If you look to the right and you look at the highlighted Denver Nuggets, 48 wins, 34 losses, 6th seed. Now, if you look at all the teams that had more wins than them, it's 10 from East and West. It's 10 teams better than the Denver Nuggets that season. The MVP voters went all the way down to the 6th seed in the West to find the MVP of the league and gave him 91 of the 101 votes for MVP. They went all the way to the 6th seed and said, there's your MVP. Why? Because he almost averaged a triple-double. This is after Westbrook won MVP, averaging a triple-double, and then averaged a triple-double the very next season and didn't win MVP. So they set a precedence that the triple-doubles don't matter no more. It doesn't automatically get you MVP. Just to change and move the goalposts again and say, we're going to give it to a guy for almost averaging a triple-double. 26, 11, and 8. 8 assists. Almost averaged a triple-double. Was so fascinating to them. We've never seen a center with this many assists, almost average a triple-double. We have to give him an MVP. I know he didn't average a triple-double, and I know Westbrook has already done this 3 times. But we have to give him the MVP because he almost averaged a triple-double, and he's a center. You got to give it to him. But his team's not winning. Let's figure something out. Let's figure out some type of narrative that will help him out, right? What was the narrative that year? Well, he lost 2 key players. Jamal Murray had, I think, ACL surgery, so he missed the entire season. And Michael Porter Jr. only played 9 games that season. Now, remember, these are the same guys that are trash, according to Jokic fans. They're trash, and they're not all-stars, so it shouldn't matter if Jokic lost them. Jokic was making them better anyway, right? So just make another player better, and that'll work, right? Whoever the backup was, make them Jamal Murray. Make them Michael Porter Jr. if they just insignificant like that, right? But they said since he was missing 2 key players, it's okay for him to be at the 6th seed and win the MVP. Remember, Kobe Bryant didn't win the MVP against Steve Nash because his team was in the 6th seed. But the goalpost didn't have wheels that year. So Kobe couldn't win an MVP because he was in the 6th seed. So give it to Nash because the Phoenix Suns had the best record that year. Well, you know what's funny? The Phoenix Suns had the best record this year as well. 64 wins, 18 losses. And there was a point guard that's on Steve Nash level, Chris Paul. He got 2 first place votes because he showed up to Phoenix and they end up having the best record in the league and got the number 1 seed. But Chris Paul was only averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists. That's very similar to what Steve Nash was averaging when he won his 2 back-to-back MVPs. And the reason why they said it's okay for him to win with only averaging 16 and 9, while you had Kobe Bryant with averaging 35 and all these other players averaging 25, 28, Steve Nash got 2 straight MVPs while averaging 16 and 9 because his team one year was the number 1 seed and had the number 1 rated offense. But here's Chris Paul with the number 1 seed averaging about the same points and assists that Steve Nash was averaging and just showed up to Phoenix and turned them into a contender. But that wasn't good enough for the voters. We can't use that same Steve Nash logic for Chris Paul, but we'll move the goalposts and give a 6 seed the MVP, even though we couldn't do it for Kobe. Very peculiar. Got 91 votes out of 101 votes, right? In a 6 seed, all because he was missing his 2 key players. But guess who else was missing 2 key players this year? Just guess, y'all. Guess who missed 2 key players this year? SGA was missing 2 key players this year, y'all. Right? SGA was missing 2 key players this year. Let me see if I'm missing something. So here's OKC this season. Right? 56 wins, 12 losses. If you see in the red box highlighted in yellow, defensive rating, they're giving up 107 points. Oh yeah, they're like first and that stuff, right? Points they score, they're like second, so that's translating. Turnovers, they're turning the teams over. They're first in steals. Which is great because what SGA do on defense is get steals. He's getting about 2 steals a game, and so that's helping his team be rated 1 in steals. Defensive rating great. All that is translating, right? What he's doing on offense is translating to his team being seated high and rated high in those categories. Same thing as defense, and then he's got more team success than Denver Nuggets. Clear-cut MVP. That's before you get into all the other stuff. You know, how many times he scored 40 and all the other stuff is cool. But for the most part, it's easy he's the MVP, right? Right. But remember, he came into the season, he didn't have Hartenstein, which was a big man. He was hurt. And then he lost Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren only played about 22 games this season. So he lost Chet Holmgren very early. Those are two key players that he really needed, especially how this team is constructed. They needed him for rebounds. They needed Hartenstein and Holmgren. They needed both of them for rebounds and defense and shot blocking and guarding bigs, but he didn't have neither one of them. I remember when Chet went down and everybody was like, what is SGA going to do now? He don't have no big man at all. Dwight Howard tweeted, I'm still available. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I remember, I want to say Barkley may have said, this is going to be real big how he responded is for the MVP this season. And he responded and kept his team afloat at the number 1 seed. It's clear cut who the MVP is. But they keep moving the goalposts. When Jokic was in the 6th seed, they said that the reason why that was okay is because he lost 2 key players on his team, 2 key starters. But when OKC lost 2 key starters, he didn't drop to the 6th seed. He stayed at the number 1 seed. So which one is better? Losing 2 key starters, dropping to a 6th seed, and we giving you the MVP, or someone losing 2 key starters and keeping their team at number 1? We didn't even have to question. If SGA would have dropped to the 6th seed, do you think anyone that had votes would have made, you think anyone in the media would have made an excuse for him and said, it's okay for him to be in the 6th seed because he lost 2 key starters. Let's give him the MVP anyway. Do you think anybody would have said that? But yet we make that excuse for Jokic, right? Mind you, Steph Curry, that's the year they won the finals when Jokic got the MVP out of the 6th seed and met the Golden State Warriors in the first round, and he only got 1 game out of it. Golden State Warriors sent him home quick. Steph Curry was averaging 32 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. 32, 6, and 6. He got 5 first place votes and was the number 3 seed in the West. So winning more games than the Nuggets, being a 3 seed, winning 50 plus games, averaging 32 points a game. He might have led the league in scoring that year. 6 rebounds, 6 assists, playing lights out. And then they got to the finals and won. He got 5 first place votes, but he couldn't get more than that. Why? Chris Paul, he had a Nash-like year when Nash won it. Number 1 seed. Then Devin Booker was averaging 26, 5, and 5 that year. He didn't get not 1 vote. Right? So I'm looking at the Suns, I'm looking at the Warriors. They had MVP candidates on that team. Why they didn't get more votes? Then you go over to the East and you see Boston and Jason Tatum. Then you see Giannis, and then you see Embiid. All great candidates. All great candidates, right? So here's what OKC is at. I mean, this is just ridiculous, y'all. This is ridiculous, right? So a liability on defense, y'all. So defense don't matter, winning don't matter. Only thing that matters now, the only narrative that matters now is how close to a triple-double are you? And the crazy thing about it is all those years that he got 3 MVPs, all of those years he almost averaged a triple-double. 1 year he averaged 8 assists, 1 year he averaged 9 assists. So the logic is, well, if we gave him an MVP for averaging a triple double in the 6th seed, not averaging a triple double, almost averaging a triple double in the 6th seed, anything that if he almost averaged a triple double and he's anywhere above the 6th seed, you have to give it to him again. Like once you set that precedent that we'll set the bar so low that a 6th seed will win the MVP because he almost averaged a triple double. All he got to do is keep playing the same triple double style basketball. And the team is too good to ever fall below a 6th seed if they're healthy. So the precedents that they set is confusing so many media people and voters because they don't know what the criteria is. If you went all the way down to a 6th seed to get an MVP because he almost averaged a triple double, all he got to do is keep almost averaging a triple double, and he should get the votes again. But he did you one better this time. He actually is averaging a triple double this year. So averaging a triple double is better than almost averaging a triple double, and anything above the 6th seed is obviously better than the 6th seed. So now you in a trick bag where you have to give it to him again. Like if you ever voted for him, you have to vote for him again because he actually did better than what he did when y'all voted for him. That's why you're never supposed to make exceptions and set the bar low. You should never be going to a 6th seed to find your MVP. You should never be going to the 11th best team in the league to find your MVP. I don't care who's hurt. It don't matter who's out or who's hurt. You can't start making excuses like that. Oh, man, he lost his second best player, man. So, we'll look past him losing all these games and being in the 6th seed and being the 11th best team in the league. Yeah, we look past that. You only won one game in the playoffs against the Warriors. Yeah. Draymond Green guarded you without a double. Hey, but you the MVP. Yeah. So all the narratives that work for Jokic don't work for nobody else. Kobe was in the 6th seed. That didn't work for him. They said MVP didn't, the Joel Embiid didn't deserve his MVP because he got put out in the first round, but Jokic got put out in the first round by the Warriors. No one ever said he didn't deserve their MVP. They said that he didn't have his second best player. SGA didn't have his second best player with Chet and another key player with Hartenstein, but that didn't work for him. They said he almost averaged a triple double. Westbrook actually averaged a triple double, and that didn't work for him. He didn't get his second MVP. Right. So all the goalpost has moved so much, and it moves for every year he won the MVP. It was a different criteria that they use, or not even a different criteria. It was a different excuse they use to cover up things that obviously should have made him not the number one candidate. Right, being in the 6th seed, you shouldn't have. No, that shouldn't happen. But yeah, I'm off my soapbox, y'all. I just thought that was interesting, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. I catch y'all on the next episode. Peace.